Podcast Dual Use and Dual Use Research of Concern, iGEM Team Bielefeld CeBiTec.
Welcome to our podcast about dual use and dual use research of concern. We are
Matthias
and Irina from this year's iGEM Team Bielefeld CeBiTec in Germany. But first, I will introduce you to the iGEM competition. International Genetically Engineered Machine, short iGEM, is the biggest non-profit research competition in the field of synthetic biology worldwide. This year, we work on producing metal nanoparticles in the microorganism Escherichia coli out of contaminated water. However, iGEM is not just about the laboratory work. One important part of the project is also engaging in outreach and public relations work. This year, we want to draw attention to the topics dual use and dual use research of concern and on how to communicate them properly to the public.
Why are we dealing with that topic? As we said before, our project is about recycling metals from electronic waste and returning them to the economy. For that, it is important that bacteria are able to take up metal ions such as copper. We have found out that there is the bacterium Acidithiobacillus ferrooxidans, which is used in the industrial process of bioleaching of copper ores. Our first idea has been transferring the uptake system into the model organism Escherichia coli, short E. coli. In theory, E. coli could then be able to digest electronic waste from dumping grounds and form nanoparticles that could be used for various new applications. But a closer look also reveals the potential for abuse of our project. In the wrong hands, our bacteria could be used intentionally for digesting working electronics, and this could be misperceived by the public. However, we have to admit that this degradation would occur at a very slow rate, if at all possible.
This theoretical example from our own project shows that research results could be used for civilian and malicious applications alike. We have been curious and wanted to know how scientists in general deal with such problems when they appear. During our research on how to deal with such ethical dilemmas, we came across the terms dual use and dual use research of concern. We have been quite startled that no one of our team learned about this in their university education. It is very important to mention that our team consists of team members from different fields of life sciences. Unfortunately, we did not even know who from our university was in charge of helping us with such questions, as we just got in touch with dual use issues through iGEM. Therefore, we invested a lot of time and effort into education and outreach on biosecurity, dual use and dual use research of concern, both at our university and on an international level.
But what does dual use and dual use research of concern actually mean? Dual use in the context of science describes the potential of knowledge or technologies to be used by third parties with both benevolent and malevolent intention. That's a pretty formal definition. Let's take the example of a knife. You can use it to eat or to cook. That is a quite normal and benevolent way of usage. But with a knife, you could also kill someone, so use it in a malevolent way. Of course, this is not an example in the context of natural science. A classical example from the field of biology is the CRISPR-Cas9 system, a gene editing tool. The CRISPR-Cas9 system allows the precise cutting of DNA, the insertion of a gene segment, and the cutting out of gene segments. For example, the system can be used in somatic gene therapies. Gene therapies can cure diseases in the long term, but theoretically, the tool can also be used to generate new, dangerous viruses.
In the beginning, we also mentioned the term dual use research of concern. What does that exactly mean? Research of concern describes scientific work that is likely to produce knowledge, products or technologies that can be directly misused by third parties. The difference to the term dual use is that dual use research of concern deals with public research, which could be misused. Dual use does not have to originate from any research. It can simply be a matter of technology. Let me introduce you to a real incident. Two research groups produced variants of the bird flu influenza virus H5N1, which, unlike the wild type, are also transmitted through air between mammals. Thus, a deadly virus that is relatively difficult to transmit became an easier to transmit deadly virus. The idea behind this experimental approach was the fear that the corresponding mutation could also occur in nature at any time, and they wanted to be prepared for this. What could such information do in the wrong hands? Do scientists have to consider what they publish? Dr. Manuela Lenzen is science journalist and working at the Center for Interdisciplinary Research in Bielefeld. She says,
researchers need to think about what they are developing, whose hands their results could reach, and what might become of them in the worst-case scenario. This applies not only to the developers of centrifuges, which can be used in medicine, as well as for the production of nuclear bombs, or for chemists who work on substances that could be used for chemical weapons, but for all researchers, including, for example, findings of psychology on the manipulability of humans. Presumably, no scientific discipline can fundamentally be dismissed from these considerations.
So actually, researchers face two problems. On the one side, scientists should not be limited in their research areas. The technical advance of human civilization is dependent on free research, and we are also, without exception, in favor of free research. On the other side, they should reflect if possible misuse by third parties can occur. Otherwise, there might be some restrictions of research in the future as an answer to critical publications. Despite all these concerns, we did not have lots of misuse cases in the last decades. We as scientists know that in most cases it is quite hard to recreate a virus, and there are many easier ways to harm someone. But does the public know too? During our research on dual use and dual use research of concern, it became clear to us that it is not the misuse of research itself that poses the greatest danger. The greatest danger comes from how the public perceives the danger. Different understandings due to different educational or scientific backgrounds led to huge debates in the past, ultimately resulting in the restriction of publications. That is why we reached out to scientists gaining public trust by effective science communication of their research.
An example of failed communication is the publication Airborne Transmission of Influenza A H5N1 virus between ferrets by Herfs and L that we already mentioned. This critical publication from 2012 caused a disturbing sensation at this time. As we said before, a research group examined which part of the genomic information of a mutated virus was in charge of its previously non-present air transmissibility. In addition to the critical content of the publication, communication was also a major problem here. The varying title alone quickly drew the attention of the media to this publication, which led to concerns and much public criticism of scientists. Such cases can rapidly lead to panic, to which the government can respond with stricter regulation of science. The limitation of free science poses a real danger in the internet age, as information and panic can spread around the world in seconds. That is why we appeal to you as responsible scientists. Ask yourselves, how does the public perceive you as scientists? It is important to communicate to the public that every scientist is aware of his research and has carried out risk assessment. The one who works on research must be the one who can best assess the risks of his research and moreover communicate them properly. This is a fundamental part of generating public trust and supporting free research.
Another problem is inconsistency concerning the terms biosecurity and biosafety. Many scientists know biosafety but not biosecurity, or think it is the same. Then what is biosecurity? Biosecurity is the protection, control and accountability for biological materials and their biosecurity relevant information in order to prevent their unauthorized access, loss, theft, misuse, diversion or intentional release. In contrast, biosafety is the personal protection and prevention of the release of hazardous substances and organisms into the environment. Generally, biosafety focuses on the protection of people within a laboratory and the prevention of unintentional release of dangerous substances, whereas biosecurity sets the focus on the protection of laboratory material and relevant information against misuse. Relevant information could be protocols or important data of experiments. To our knowledge, there is no internationally applicable definition of biosecurity, dual use and dual use research of concern. Different organizations come up with different definitions, leading to confusion and different understandings. Therefore, it is necessary to establish internationally uniform definitions on which further education can be based.
Looking at the difficult educational and ethical questions, there should certainly already be people responsible for questions relating to dual-use research of concern, shouldn't there? We thought so too and started locally by researching about the situation in Germany. In 2014, the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft DFG published together with the National Academy of Sciences Leopoldina recommendations on how to deal with dual-use research of concern. These recommendations state that research institutions draft ethical rules for dealing with dual-use research of concern and establish a commission for the ethics of dual-use research of concern that has only advisory function. It was recommended that these commissions should be established at every research facility by 2017. By 2019, it will be decided whether these commissions are sufficient to deal with dual-use research of concern problems or whether more regulations are needed. One suggestion is that scientists must obtain a license in order to be allowed to publish something, and that would be an intervention in free science. Consequently, there was also a new committee founded at our university. Getting in contact with the head of the commission, we learned that they are in charge of this committee but did not take action to integrate the issues into curricula yet. This is partly due to the fact that the commissions did only get the goals they need to achieve but no information on how to accomplish this. Further, they are members of the board who already have full-time jobs and would provide advice if required.
We want to support this new committee and give some input how students and other members of universities could be enlightened about this topic. First, we investigated the situation about the awareness of dual use and dual-use research of concern. Therefore, we have carried out a national survey about this topic to find out whether students from other German universities know all the definitions. The results have been devastating. More than 2/3 of the participants do not know what research of concern is, and more than every second participant does not know what dual use in the context of science stands for. Professor Dr. Catherine Nixdorf is a retired professor for microbiology and genetics at the Technical University of Darmstadt. Her opinion on the awareness of dual use and dual use research of concern is:
Several surveys over the past 10 years have clearly documented that the majority of scientists involved in modern life science work do not devote a great deal of active consideration to questions of biosecurity, mainly because they have little awareness of possible dual-use implications of their work.
And our own survey just confirms that.
After we have seen these results, we have been curious what the international situation looks like. Therefore, we spread the survey among other iGEM teams and universities abroad. About 1/3 of the participants do not know the meaning of dual use, and 7 out of 10 do not know what dual use research of concern means. So what are the major problems we are taken out of the survey? First, most scientists are not aware of the terms dual use and dual use research of concern. Second, enlightenment about dual use and dual use research of concern issues and their science communication is not part of the university education. Third, scientists do not know about the existence of the responsible committees and who to contact for questions. Fourth, there are no international and uniform definitions of the terms dual use and dual use research of concern. Problems entail risks. What are possible risks? To sum it up in 3 points. First, unwitting publication of critical content due to a lack of enlightenment and contact persons. Second, strict regulation of scientific research in response to unconsidered publications with dual-use research of concern content. Third, loss of public trust in scientists due to poor science communication.
Our goal is to integrate dual-use and dual-use research of concern issues and their communication firmly into university education worldwide. Only through long-term integration into the curriculum an effective sense of responsibility can be taught. For this reason, we have taken some steps to achieve these goals. To strengthen the awareness of dual-use and dual-use research of concern, biosecurity and their proper communication, we prepared a set of slides in German and in English which contain all relevant definitions and short examples. The students will get an overview of the issue and a general understanding of the conceptions. For a deeper understanding, we prepared a more detailed set of slides. They contain thorough examples of different fields of research. Both sets of slides can easily be integrated into the lectures. The slides will be spread among the iGEM community, and we encourage other teams to inform about dual-use and dual-use research of concern. Scientists all over the world are invited to use the slides. To strengthen the topic for the long term, we established a seminar on dual-use and dual-use research of concern at our university. Lecturers from different disciplines, such as bioprocess engineering, sociology of law, psychology, and philosophy of science, will give insights into their perspective on dual-use and dual-use research of concern. The most important part of the seminar is that the students can discuss possible threats and case studies. Everyone is invited to join the seminar.
We hope that dual-use and dual-use research of concern are integrated into the university education on a long-term basis in the future. Thus, we reached out to scientists, increasing the awareness of dual-use research of concern and gaining public trust by effective science communication. Our survey unveiled great need for training of the next generation of scientists. iGEM is the ideal platform to provide and establish sustainable training and to raise global awareness. Of course, we don't cover the complexity of the issue and the whole ethical background. If you would like to receive more information, if you are interested in the slides, or if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at info@igem-bielefeld.de. We are looking forward to your messages.